Apologize to Representative Moreno. It is not Denver, Colorado, and I wouldn't want to sack him with that. So it's actually Commerce City, Colorado. The House will come to order. The pledge today will be led by Kyle Fleming, Denver University, Denver, Colorado.
Good morning. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Kohler, please call the roll. You don't want and you don't want anybody.
Representative Arndt. Becker J. Becker K. Representative Casey Becker. She's the third person. Casey Becker.
Representative Becker, K. Becker, excused.
Brown. Buck. Buckner. Carver. Conti. Corum. Court. Representative Court.
Representative Court excused.
Danielson. Del Grosso. Dorr. Duran. Esgar. Everett. Fields. Representative Court is present. Foote. Representative Casey Becker is present. Garnett. Janal. Hamner. Humphrey. Joshi. Kagan.
Representative Kagan excused.
Klingenschmidt. Representative Klingenschmidt. There he is. Kraft-Art. Landgraf. Representative Landgraf. Lawrence. Lebsock. Lee. Leonard. Lontine. Lundeen. Representative Lundeen. McCann. Melton. Mitch Bush. Moreno. Navarro. Neville. Nordberg. Pabon. Pedersen. Primavera. Priola. Rankin. Ransom. Rosenthal. Rupe. Ryden. Same. Salazar. Representative Kagan is present. Sias. Singer. Thurlow. Tyler. Van Winkle. Vigil. Willett. Williams. Wilson. Windholes. Winter. Wist. Young. Madam Speaker. That's 65.
With 65 present, we have a quorum. Representative Lontine.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the reading of the Journal of Wednesday, March 9th, 2016 be dispensed with and that it be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
You have heard the motion that the journal be adopted as corrected by the chief clerk. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Announcements and introductions. Members, may I have your attention for announcements and introductions? Representative Kraft-Tharp.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I've been asked to remind you that today is the MSU Denver Caucus lunch, in which they're going to have a great lunch from noon to 1. But even better than that, are you ready? Denver Bronco Tyrone Braxton will be there talking about the growing workforce demands for social work professionals. It's in room 111 from noon to 1 o'clock. Thank you.
Representative Williams.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members of the Business Affairs and Labor Committee, we will hear 3 bills at 1:30 today, 1271, 1134, and 1323. See you at 1:30.
Representative McCann.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members of Health Insurance and Environment, I just want to remind you we're in room 271 today, and we will be hearing the bills as printed in the calendar, but just remember that we did add 1310, Representative Salazar's bill, so we will see you at 1:30 in 271.
Representative Ruppe.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, you have a Veterans Caucus flyer on your desk. And as you know, we always serve lunch. It's going to be in room 112. We're going to talk about state veteran services and let you kind of know what's available to our veterans and how we can kind of bridge the gap. Your flyer has the different speakers, but we really need to know if you're going to be there and RSVP. So on the flyer, it has Jerry Wheeler's email. Let us know you're coming so we have your lunch. Thank you all.
Thank you, Representative Ruppe, and I'm not sure anybody really heard that. So would you please put your attention to the well, and Representative Ruppe, let me get order first. And then if you would like to repeat that, you go right ahead. It's an important organization. Okay, may we have your attention, please? Thank you. Please proceed, Representative Ruppe.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So, members, we have flyers on your desk about the Veterans Caucus. We're going to talk about state veteran services that are available in your communities and what we can do to help your veterans if you have a high veteran population, or even if you don't. Veterans are really having a hard time connecting with the services that they need. So on your flyer, you have the different speakers that are going to be there. It's on Monday, March 14th, and we desperately need to know if you're coming. You know, we bring food. We bring beverages. The Colorado Beverage Association is going to be offering their beverages as refreshment. Jerry Wheeler needs to know if you're going to be there. So thank you, and we hope to see you at the caucus. Thank you, Madam.
Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members, thank you very much for all of your generous donations. I am going to turn this in today, so if anybody wanted to sign the card or add anything to it, come see me.
Representative Kagan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, members of the House Judiciary Committee, and all those interested in the bills that we're hearing this afternoon. Please note that there's been a change in the order of the bills. We're going to go through House Bills 1262, 3, 4, and 5 in that order. It's on the calendar accurately reflected, but that's law enforcement background checks first, racial profiling second, use of the chokehold third, and expunging arrest records fourth.
Representative Ryden.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And today I want to give a big congratulations to Buckley Air Force Base, City of Aurora, Colorado Land Trust, and Arapahoe County for closing on the first parcel of land to complete the buffer zone around Buckley Air Force Base. And thanks to you all who voted to appropriate $5 million for this effort. So thank you so much.
Representative Primavera.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to remind members of Public Health Care and Human Services Committee we will be meeting tomorrow, Friday, upon adjournment to hear 2 bills.
Representatives Melton and Representatives Everett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's Thursday, which means that it's a reminding day to wear your bow tie, your scarf, or your bolo tie tomorrow. And as you can see, Representative Everett has already previewed what to wear for tomorrow. I'll hand it off to him.
This particular bow tie has rhinos on it. So, you know, that's a good example of what you should maybe wear tomorrow. So do it. Be square.
Further announcements and introductions. Seeing none, the next order of business is third reading of bills and final passage. Mr. Kohler, please read the title of House Bill 1279.
House Bill 1279 by Representative Rosenthal, also Senator Newell, concerning the creation of an international sister-state relationship program by the Colorado Office of Economic Development.
Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1279 on third reading and final passage.
The question is the passage of House Bill 1279 on third reading and final passage. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Mr. Kohler, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Dorr. That's a $3 fine, Representative Dorr. With 38 ayes, 27 noes, and no excused, House Bill 1279 is passed. Co-sponsors. Close the machine. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the following bills be made special orders today at 9:20 a.m. House Bill 1164, House Bill 1306, 94, 88, House Bill 1285, House Bill 1257, and House Bill 1210. And just to be clear, that was Senate Bill 94 and Senate Bill 88.
You've heard the motion that the Majority Leader's list of bills be placed at special orders today at 9:28 a.m. Is there any objection? Seeing none, so ordered. Okay. The next order of business is special orders of bills. Representative Escar.
Speaker, I move the House now resolve itself as the Committee of the Whole for consideration of special orders.
You have heard the motion. With no objection, Representative Escar will take the chair.
The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there's a request for reading a bill at length. Committee amendments will not be read unless requested, as they are printed and in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and on your iPads and not read unless requested. Bills will be laid over upon motion of the majority leader. and the coat rule is relaxed. Mr. Kohler, please read the title of House Bill 1164.
House Bill 1164, Representative Pabon, also Senators Aguilar and Martinez-Humana, concerning the transfer of responsibilities related to exemptions from immunization requirements from schools to the Department of Public Health and Environment.
Representative Pabon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I move House Bill 1164. There are no committee reports. There is a committee report. I'm sorry. I move the bill and the committee report. My apologies.
Thank you, Representative Pabon. To the Health Insurance and Environment Committee report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There were some concerns that were raised about the confidentiality of these records and how they would be kept from undue disclosure. And as a result, we wanted to make sure that it was very clear in the bill that the records were maintained by the department and called very strictly confidential, and essentially followed the same tracking language that we have in place for the CIIS system. So this is a confidentiality clause for these records. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on the Health Insurance and Environment Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Health Insurance Committee report. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The Health Insurance Committee report passes. To the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I do have a couple of amendments before we get to the heart of the bill. So I move L020 and ask that it be displayed.
Amendment L020 has been moved and is displayed.
Thank
to
you,
the
Madam.
amendment, Representative Pabon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And there was some concern that we were changing the rules for those who were homeschooled, and we are not. And so this amendment basically makes that very clear that this will have no impact on our homeschooled children. So I ask for an aye vote.
Representative Klingenschmidt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a good amendment. I thank the bill sponsor for bringing this amendment, and I urge a yes vote on this amendment.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L020? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L020. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Amendment L020 passes. Representative Pabon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One more amendment, L021.
Would you like to move that, Representative?
I move L021.
Amendment L021 has been moved and is shown on the screen behind us. To the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And there was some concern and question, again, that we were unnecessarily deleting the State Board of Health's right to further allow exemptions to immunizations based upon sound medical practice. That is what is stricken from the bill, but this allows that exemption to remain in place. So would ask for an aye vote.
Representative Klingenschmidt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is also a good amendment. This provides that future genetic research can become a reason for a medical exemption, and that's already in the law, but the original version of the bill struck that out, and now this amendment would put it back in so that future medical research with regard to vaccine-injured children can get that medical exemption they need. So I urge a yes vote on this amendment.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L021? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Amendment L021. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Amendment L021 passes. To the bill, Representative Pabon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this is a streamlining bill that takes the burden off of our school nurses to collect exemption forms. They are already spending time taking temperatures, making sure that kids in their schools are treated if they've got a stomach ache, headache, whatever it may be. And at the same time, they're required to not only collect these forms, but upload them up to the centralized CIIS system. This simply says we're going to make this easy for parents, for school nurses, and everyone in between, so that if you have an exemption, medical, religious, or personal, and we're doing absolutely nothing to change that standard, then you can simply fill out a form online, have that and print it out and turned into the school district, to the school nurse, if there is a school nurse. Many times, I've heard from many of my districts, both rural and urban, that there's not even a budget for school nurses. That's the first thing that gets cut. So these are secretaries who are collecting these forms, administrative staff, folks who really are not in the business of the public health system. And so we wanted to take the burden off of our schools. We give them plenty to do. And we talk often about how much burden we place on our schools, unfunded mandates and the like. This would remove this unfunded mandate, would allow CDPHE to collect this information, and that's all this bill does. Nothing more, nothing less. So with that, I ask for an aye vote and look forward to a lively and spirited debate.
Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We heard this in committee, and one of my biggest concerns, I had probably over 700 phone calls and emails from parents who were very, very concerned about this bill. I didn't hear a single person encouraging me to vote for it. Everybody wanted a no vote. And I find it very hard to understand how anybody, because the emails go to all of us. You know, I can see who they go to. I don't understand how people can vote against their constituents that way. And then in addition to that, I have a list. It says Colorado breaches of protected health information from these departments. So that's one of the parents' concerns, that the department won't manage this information properly. And another thing we heard was a violation of FERPA. If these records are maintained at the school, they come under FERPA protection, and they won't do that when they're moved to the department. I suggest a no vote.
Representative Joshi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And colleagues, I ask for no vote on this bill. And the reasons are, first of all, contrary to the argument that this bill will decrease the workload, it actually will increase the workload for the parents, because now they have to go to the CDPHE and file some of the reports, and then the schools still have to get it back from the CDPHE because they still have to do their reports. The second thing is the issue with confidentiality. We all know how the data breach are occurring all over. We have even seen at the most secured agencies which had breach in their data. So I'm not sure, and we never heard in the committee that what kind of measures the CDPHE will have, so none of these data will be breached. The third thing is, it says that when the local agencies or the director of the CDPHE, whenever he or she feels that there is an outbreak of a danger, then they will quarantine these folks. Well, to quarantine somebody is a pretty serious matter. I don't think I want to give some individual total power to do these kind of things. I mean, even when we have emergencies nationally, only the president declares the emergencies. It is not that some department head declares the emergencies. I don't think we can allow that. So I have an amendment L023, and I would like it to be displaced.
Representative Joshi, could you please move that amendment?
Yes. I move amendment L023 and ask it to be displaced.
Amendment L023 has been moved and is on the screen behind us. To the amendment, Representative Joshi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, as I just mentioned, that instead of the department heads or some local agencies, I think it's the governor who is in charge of the whole state. He or she has the full responsibility, and they are the ones who are directly responsible to the citizens of the state of Colorado. So if a citizen has any problems, it's very hard to go to a department head and try to get something resolved. So I think this is a good amendment, and the person, our chief executive officer of the state, should be the one making these kind of decisions. I ask for yes vote on this amendment.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L023? Representative Pabon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Representative Joshi, thank you for your very good, respectful, thoughtful debate on this issue. With respect to this amendment, here's the challenge. If you give the governor the authority to declare a public health emergency, one, you take it from becoming a evidence-based science decision, and you essentially make it a political decision. And we don't want to have a political decision made about our public health system. This gives the folks who are most connected to our public health systems the ability to declare a localized emergency, a statewide emergency, whatever it may be. So essentially you're taking away the local control of our public health agencies and giving it to one person, the governor. And I would hesitate to think that that's what you meant to do by this amendment, but that's in fact what the amendment does. So I ask for a no vote for the sake of local control, for our communities to have a say over what a public health initiative is, and take this out of the hands, again, a political decision essentially that could be made by the governor.
Representative Joshi.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Pabon, for that explanation. But again, we are talking about quarantining some people. We are actually going to completely disrupt their lives. And this is not a political decision. This is something that a governor makes every day when they sign a bill or they issue an executive order. All these things are not political decisions. Hopefully, governor consults his executive directors of different departments before these kind of decisions are made. So I think this is a good amendment, and I ask for yes vote.
Representative Neville.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I think this is a good amendment. I think the arguments that this somehow takes away local control they don't hold any water. I think the bill, you could say itself, takes away local control, but this amendment does not. There's nothing in this amendment that says that the governor can't consult with those individuals, but it says that he has the final authority to make the decisions. He should be the one that's held accountable. So I urge a yes vote on this amendment.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment 023? Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just speaking to the amendment, giving this decision to the governor, if it's in extreme danger, that is a political decision, but giving it to the Department of Health is a political decision as well. We're still talking about extreme danger, not just what a department defines as a couple kids not getting their shots or delaying them.
Representative Lontine.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I also heard this in committee, and interestingly enough, we also heard this very amendment in committee, and it was voted down there. Two problems that I see, and one has already been discussed very well by Representative Pabon, is the issue of the governor speaking. I think this does make it political, and that taking this away from the Department of Public Health and Environment and the local health departments is not a good move, and is a move away from evidence-based decision making. Also, I never heard a definition of what extreme danger is, and so danger is danger, extreme or not. So I don't buy the extreme danger argument, and I don't think anyone here should. So I urge a no vote on this amendment.
Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I move an amendment to the amendment and ask that it be displayed. I mean, I do move an amendment to the amendment.
Amendment L024 has been moved and is properly displayed.
Which is an amendment?
Which is an
Thank you.
amendment to Amendment 023.
Thank you.
To the amendment, Representative Landgraf.
All this does, it cleans up some of the issues that we heard in the last amendment. So it does say it changes extreme danger to danger because extreme isn't defined. And then it says by the governor in consultation with the department.
Representative Ransom.
Yes vote.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I do urge a yes vote on the substitute amendment. Just think, the governor is the one that declares a state of emergency when we've had river problems, when we've had fires, when we've had any type of dangerous situation happens in the state. The governor is fully capable of defining and figuring out if we have a state of emergency that would require people to be quarantined, which is in effect a jail/prison. They are actually quarantined. It's a serious decision to be made, and we need to really think hard and consult with the department. Consult with the experts is fine, but we need to really think hard and long before we start quarantining people for something that they have. Thank you.
Representative Joshi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Representative Landgraf, for clarifying some of the language on the my amendment. I think this is a good amendment. Again, as we have said, danger is a danger. So if any department even feels that there is a danger of certain kind, governor issues executive orders all the time. This is nothing new. I mean, if the argument is that this would make it a political decision, then every decision the governor makes must be a political decision, which he's supposed to govern the state, not politicize the state. Otherwise, we should change the name of the governor to a politician or something like that. So I think that this is a good amendment, and I thank Representative Landgraf for that, and I ask for a yes vote.
Representative Janal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think we're getting a little into the weeds here, involving the governor when we have a department that specializes in health and environment. And so I feel this is unnecessary. And the other question I've asked, and I think other people have asked, is how you define danger. So I ask for no vote on this.
Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Representative Joshi, thank you for standing tall with the governor's office. I'm sure he appreciates that. And thank you, Representative Landgraf, for your amendment that took care of all of the questions and concerns that were with the previous amendment. So I urge an aye vote on this as well.
Representative Pabon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, again, this is a good discussion and respectful debate, and I do appreciate that. But again, just to make the analogy here, when there's a public health outbreak in the United States, the overseer of that and the person who makes that call is with the Centers for Disease Control. It's not the president, right? So we have public health experts, PhDs, doctors, who are able to look at this and say, okay, this is clearly a public health, science-based, evidence-based epidemic. We need to sound the alarm and let folks know. it doesn't sit on the president's desk to make a determination of this type because it is so critically important and so impactful to our public health system that it should again remain with the local control of your local public health departments, which is what the current language is now. So I'm a supporter of local control, as you all know down here, and I want to continue to maintain that record. So I ask for a no vote on this amendment.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L024? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Amendment L024. All those in favor say. There has been a division called. The question is the adoption of Amendment L024. A division has been requested. All of those in the chamber not entitled to vote, please be seated.
I know. Let's get it right the first time. That John was sitting on a stool. See that? Yeah. Kind of looks like he's still. Yeah, it does.
No. All those in the chamber not entitled to vote, please be seated. All those in favor of Amendment L024, please stand and remain standing in one place until the count is taken. You may be seated. All those in the chamber opposed to Amendment L024, please stand and remain standing until counted. You all may be seated. Amendment L024 is lost. To Amendment L023. Is there any further discussion on Amendment L023? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L023. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no? That amendment is lost. To the bill. Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1164? Representative Neville.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a question on the specific bill. I think it's on page 6. Yeah, page 6, line 18. I guess I'm wondering from the bill sponsor why we would want to post this information on a website. The only reason I could think to do this would be to shame anyone in from seeking an exemption. So I'm just curious why we would want to have that publicly posted.
Representative Pabon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Neville, this is essentially current law, and as opposed to putting the onus on the school to make this information publicly available and putting the burden on the parent to request the information, again, alleviating the need for the parent to make the request, the information now, which will be complete and solid and tell a parent exactly what the exemption rates of that particular school are. And this is important for those our most vulnerable populations of children who can't get a vaccination because they are medically compromised. These are kids with cancer, leukemia, some just terrible chronic conditions. And this allows the parents of those children who still have the right to go to school and still have the right to get an education just like everyone else to understand that if there's a high exemption rate in that particular school, that particular school just may not be for their child. And so that's what this is for. It's to protect those children, our most vulnerable, from ensuring that they're not in a situation where they have to put their child at an untoward risk. So that's the reason for this posting of this information.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1164? Representative Everett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Pabon, I think part of the problem here is when we come to smaller school districts is that you could actually have some sort of shaming where actually other parents would be able to find out or figure out what parents actually aren't immunizing their kids. So this could actually drive public policy or drive public shaming where you could actually have other parents guilt or shame other parents into immunizing their kids, which I think is very dangerous precedent.
Representative Pabon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Representative Everett, if the information was the personally identifiable information, stated here's the child, here's their records, and let the world be known, that would absolutely be true, but that's absolutely not the case. This is aggregate information. There is no way to know unless a parent or child discloses that they're immunized or exempted what their status is. The other piece that is critically important for this is there's an opt-out system of this system altogether. So if you don't want your information contained in this database, you don't have to. And we respect the right of parents to opt out of this as well. So the concerns are theoretical, and they are, well, they're not even theoretical. They're just not possible. And so if they were, I certainly would not be in favor of this posting or this bill because, again, vaccination records and exemption records are some of the most sensitive information that we have out there. We want to protect that, which is why we have the confidentiality provisions in place, as well as the requirement that this information be posted in aggregate.
Representative Everett.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Pabon, for that answer. However, statistically, if you're looking at a low vaccination rate, which is the statistics that they are posting in a smaller school district, let's say it's at 20%, and it's a very small school district, it would be pretty easy to go in and say, and shame the other parents and saying, look, we have such a low vaccination rate, we need to do something, and actually start identifying or actually going door to door, asking your neighbors in a smaller school district, which is very possible, to actually shame them into doing this. So it's going to drive policy and drive parents potentially to be forced into immunizations. So I think this is very dangerous.
Representative Joshi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The problem here is, again, as I said in my earlier statement, what guarantee do we have that this data will not be breached? We haven't heard any kind of plan or anything from CDPHE. We have been seeing data breach every single day. I mean, look at these hospitals where they are held by hackers for ransom. They have to even pay in the bitcoins. So this is not a good way of putting stuff out for everybody to see. So I think this is a bad idea. I think unless we know exactly how breach-proof our system is, we should not put anything out there for everybody to look at. And again, as you heard earlier, I mean, this could be where you are kind of telling people, well, put your stuff out there and forcing them to do so. That's not a good idea to begin with.
Representative Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And we heard this in committee. And I know probably all of you have received hundreds of emails opposing what we're trying to do here today. I know that I have. And there's a concern, a legitimate concern about confidentiality, a legitimate concern about privacy, moving from the schools to the health department. And I think there's another fear also that people have. There's a lot of people in this state that do not want to vaccinate their children. They want to have that right. And I think that there's a fear that this is one step, if you put it in the health department's hands, this information, that the next step is to require vaccinations, to mandate vaccinations in the state. And I would ask that we consider that very seriously and vote no on this bill.
Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this bill, one of the worst things about this bill is that it discriminates. It discriminates the minority of students who will be placed into a tracking system without their consent and have their rights of FERPA protections taken away from them. So you'll have students at the school with protections, and you'll have students in a department that can be accessed and used by anybody. And I also want you to think that this could be the first step. So this year we put them in a database. And what happens next year when somebody has another idea about vaccinations? And I do believe we heard at the end of the bill, we heard that this was about privacy. I think it's about parents. It's about parents who choose to opt out of immunizations for their children for whatever reason, and they're worried. They're afraid that the next step is going to be taking that right away from them. And I think as legislators, it's our duty to listen to our constituents and honor their wishes. I ask for a no vote.
Representative Leonard.
Thank you, members. Thank you, Madam Chair. I do need some clarifications from the sponsor, if I could. On the top of page 7, which starts at the bottom of page 6. It says, the rules may also require for schools to report statistical information and the names of non-compliers. And I think we've heard a little bit of testimony that maybe this is a camel's nose, that if there are non-compliers, that the schools need to compile those. My questions are, how does the school know who the non-compliers are if the information is going to the department and not to the schools? Is that additional work that all schools then need to get the information back from the department? And then secondly, how does the department track where these children are if they're moving from different schools? Right now, the school just has parents fill out a form. If you'd like to apply, please submit all this information. But if vaccination information is missing and it's going to the department, how does the department track different schools that the child may attend? Thank you.
Representative Pabon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Very good questions, Representative Leonard. First of all, a non-complier is a child who neither has their immunization forms or their exemption forms. So it just means that there's no information about this child, and folks like Representative Hamner and Representative Wilson know full well that the law says that if you don't have information about your immunizations or your exemptions, that you're not allowed to go to school. And so the non-compliers are an important component to ensure that you've got something on file for them so that they can actually matriculate. Now, how does a school district or CDPHE track a child who's going to a different school or moving around? Well, that's the beauty of this system, Representative Leonard. Since CDPHE has this information, two things now are simpler for both the parent and the department. One is those records are now kept at the department. So if little Alec Pabon goes from kindergarten to first grade, Dad, who is stressed out and tired and beat down by his colleagues at work, can go online and print out the vaccination form right then and there and turn it into the school, first grade. So it simplifies and streamlines the process for parents. And again, this applies to both immunizations and exemptions. So talk about a way to be customer friendly to our parents who, again, have to do this as a condition of their child's enrollment. So there's no discretion there. There's no ability to opt out of that system. You've got to have something on file, and this gives the parents that much more ability to turn that form in, and that way they can focus on, raising their kids and putting food on the table instead of complying with these government mandates.
Representative Neville.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move L027 and ask that it be displayed.
Amendment L027 has been moved and properly displayed. Representative Neville to the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Landgraf brought up some great concerns that we have some parents that their data and their children's health records are being automatically collected by the department under this bill, and they do have the ability to opt out, but I think that they should have the ability to opt into the program instead. And so this bill just simply changes that language. It's just a change of one word in the bill, and I urge a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L027? Representative Everett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise in strong support to this, and it doesn't completely address my concerns about the statistics, but this moves this bill in the right direction. And what this bill is really about is about parents making choices and parents' rights, and I think this is a very small step into making this bill better. I urge a yes vote.
Representative Joshi.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Neville. This is a very good idea. We all know currently when we buy something and which is an ongoing thing, and if you forget to cancel your order, they keep billing you, and this is the same kind of issue. If you forget not to get yourself out of it, you may forget, or the process might be very cumbersome for some parents. So we should not just tell them to opt out. We should, if they want to do something, if they think this is a very good idea, they will definitely opt in. So I think this is a very good amendment, and I ask for a yes vote.
Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to urge an aye vote on the amendment. We heard from the sponsor this is going to be customer friendly and consumer friendly, and I actually think that this amendment would lead to that in a much nicer way.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L027? Representative Pabon.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and again, appreciate the ideas from my colleagues, but here's the challenge. This is public health information that is being used to protect, again, keep in mind who's being protected here. These are our medically children who are unable to vaccinate. And so if there's an outbreak of any sort, they're the ones that are at the tip of the spear. Same thing with our elderly populations, the folks who are going to be most impacted by a public health outbreak. And so if you make this system an opt-in system instead of an opt-out system, you're not going to have the data you need in order to properly address, localize these issues, and address the public health concern. That is detrimental, not just to our public health system generally. That's an ethereal thing for us. We're talking about these kids, these seniors, folks who are so susceptible to death, is really what it is, to death if they're not informed of these outbreaks. And so that's why we're doing this bill, and to make it an opt-out system is essentially, or an opt-in system is essentially turning this backwards, and we shouldn't go there. So I ask for a no vote.
Representative Everett.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Pabon, for that. So I'm trying to figure this out. So you're talking about that this may interfere with them collecting data, but really what this amendment's about is parental rights. Are we balancing the importance of government collecting data versus what our parents can actually do with their kids? I think this is a pretty easy balancing act. I'm going to side with parents every time.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L027? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Amendment L027. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no? No! Amendment L027 fails. To the bill. Representative Joshi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And as we are talking about making things easier and user-friendly, this bill does not do that. If you look at page 4 on section 3, students who want to attend the college or universities, we are putting extra burden on them. It says, except as provided in this section, a student shall not attend any college or university in the state of Colorado on or after the date specified in section so-and-so, unless the student can present to the appropriate official of the school following. Not only that, it continues to say that each college and university in Colorado will create a tuberculosis screening process, and then it goes on to describe how they will do it and all that. This bill is not making anything easier. This bill is making it harder. So I move Amendment L022 and ask it to be displayed.
Amendment L022 has been moved and properly displayed. To the amendment, Representative Joshi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, as I already mentioned, this bill increases more workload for the universities. But not only that, it also makes it harder for students to go to universities and colleges. On one hand, we are talking about higher education. We are talking about workforce, where we want to create more educated students in our state so they can have better jobs. But then we are also increasing more workload for them by doing this. So I ask for a yes vote on this amendment.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L022? Representative Pabon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Representative Joshi, again, thank you for this amendment. One of the things that this chamber and this body and the people of Colorado and the thousands of people listening online right now should know is that the important part of Section 2 that says, except as provided in Section 254903, the exception is the most critical part of this legislation and of the statute, which is you can exempt out of immunization if you are medically unable, religiously, your religious beliefs do not allow, or you just simply take a personal exemption. So I don't want to, again, I appreciate the good doctor's idea here, but as a lawyer, I have to point out what the exceptions are to the rule, and the exceptions are critically important. So I'm looking at the rest of this, page 8. Sorry, I haven't seen this amendment before, so I've got to see exactly what it does here. But there's essentially a requirement now under this amendment that non-compliance be stricken, so that if a student is suspended or expelled from school, again under Section 1, right, which is that a student has not turned in their exemption form or immunization form, and basically says that the school official shall notify the department, etc. So I'm not sure what the intent of that is, but it essentially would undermine the premise of a very important public policy that we've established years ago, which is that a child shall have an immunization or an exemption form on file before matriculating. I'd ask for a no vote.
Representative Janal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I asked for no vote on this because it's just we're already parents have the ability to opt out, and why do we need to have it changed the other way? There's absolutely no reason, and I ask for a no vote.
Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, I'm looking at L022, and there was exact language that's already been struck down, so I'd like to challenge this amendment on the basis of a settled question.
The House will stand in a brief recess. The committee will come back to order. The chair rules that Amendment L022 is a settled question. To the bill. Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have been hearing a lot about privacy over the last few minutes as we've been talking about this bill. I draw your attention to a chart that was handed out to you yesterday. I hope you'll take a quick look at that. We have FERPA protection in our state and throughout the United States. School children have specific privacy protections that are given via FERPA. This bill would actually remove those protections from just a specific group of children that are attending schools right now. And those of you that remember back to your high school days, I know mine were a long time ago, but there were times that people had secrets, and if you told somebody something that was secret. They might promise not to tell anybody, they might say it was confidential, but it's no longer private. There is a big difference between privacy and confidentiality. And I really want everybody to think through that, because keeping something confidential, as the department has promised, is not the same as parents' rights to keep their medical decisions private. We hear very often in this chamber about families and people that want to make all kinds of medical decisions, and sometimes we've heard, and this is a quote, something might be a private decision between a patient, their family, and their doctor. So is this. This should be a private decision with certain exceptions, such as letting the school know about somebody that may or may not have chosen to execute their rights as defined in current statute. There is no public health emergency right now, and if we pass 1164 today, and if it's enacted, Colorado will be the only state that would deny exempted families FERPA protections. Of all the 50 states, we would be the only one that would be denying families the right to keep their medical decisions private. Again, private as opposed to confidential.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1164? Representative Lontine.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is not a new piece of information. We all received this in committee, and it was well explained. This is not a violation of FERPA. This is not an education record. That's what this is about. That's what FERPA covers. And as far as Colorado being alone, we're not. We have many other states that have an immunization information system that is much more robust than ours. For example, our neighbor to the west in Utah has done an excellent job with their immunization information system without the issues of data breaches or without violating families' personal medical information. So I still urge a yes vote on this bill. Thank you.
Representative Neville.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And we heard some other arguments on this bill, and I have another question on some specific language in this bill, specifically page 2, line 12. It looks to me like this strikes the ability for local governing boards of an institution to develop their own rules for what a non-traditional student is, and it transfers that to the State Board of Health. I guess I'm wondering from the bill sponsors why we would want to take away that decision from the governing board of the institution.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1164? Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for Representative Pabon, but I don't see him. Has he disappeared? I'll wait until he comes back if there's other people to speak.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1164? Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Still waiting on the sponsor to be back. We heard some discussion, too, about the highly vulnerable populations that would be protected by this bill. And I think we all recognize that there are children, that there are people that cannot take vaccinations, and we understand that they might need special treatment. But by giving them special treatment, we're denying it to people that, again, are exercising their rights in statute. And one question that I would actually like to ask somebody is, based on, I know we have current laws in place regarding notifying the schools, but these kids that are highly vulnerable can be exposed to these diseases anywhere. I know that you can go to the grocery store and be exposed to chickenpox or any one of the diseases that are out there that could potentially be protected with the immunization. So I'd love to hear a response to that. That when they're in schools, they're exposed, but they're exposed just by living as well.
Representative Janal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to address a couple of things in regards to the information. What did I say? The information that's currently in the school systems, right? It's pretty antiquated. It's on paper, and it's in a file cabinet. So you want to talk about hacking or getting the information? It's right there for anybody to walk into an office, a health office, and get. So putting it into the CDPHE is basically a central place for all immunizations that will be on file. Now, let's just say we have an outbreak, and recently in the Post there was an article about mumps and the increase in mumps. There was like an outbreak of mumps. So if we have all this information compiled instead of in different schools or school districts, the CDPHE can actually look at an area and say, I think we know that there is an epidemic in this particular area of Colorado. And so advise the school districts, advise doctors that are seeing patients that may show signs of mumps, and put that out there, whereas the individual schools and the school districts will not do that. So in essence, if there's an epidemic or an increase in a particular disease state, the CDPHE will send out that data and alert the area so that our children get checked out. If they are sick, that they can stay home, or they're advised to stay home, not to spread that any further. And so I ask for a yes vote on this bill. Thank you.
Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Representative Pabon, it's so nice to see that you are back with us so I can ask you a question. I actually have a quote that you said that this was the most sensitive data the government can collect. So how? That's a very good quote. Yeah, I sound just like you. But I want an answer to my question, which is, how can you guarantee that this sensitive data will be protected? And I know you want to answer that.
Representative Pabon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just briefly, well, here's the thing. You got to remember how this data is being collected today, which is in a file cabinet, in a secretary, administrative assistant, or a nurse's office. Generally, those are unlocked file cabinets in an unlocked office. So right now, this data is more susceptible to breach than anything we could possibly have under this bill. So the question is, are we making the data safer? Yes. Are we making it less susceptible to someone to take? Yes. Is there less danger of a breach? Yes. And so that's what this bill is doing. It's moving away from this archaic system of file cabinets holding information which can be taken by anyone at any time in any place, unauthorized or authorized. And Representative Lundin knows exactly what I'm talking about in his work as school board, state school board member. That's the issue here. So when you move it to a private database that has not been hacked from its inception and has the encryption data associated with it, is that safer than sitting in a file cabinet in a secretary's office? The answer is yes. And so if you believe that you want this data protected more strongly, you should vote for this bill. If you're okay with letting it out into the open and letting anyone find it, take it, use it, you should vote no.
Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Representative Pabon, I must disagree, and I'll give you just two examples. I'll throw out the Home Depot and Target. Now, how many people got a letter saying their accounts had been hacked? There we go. Maybe just people on this side, but I find that hard to believe. Oh, so anyway, I have to assume that a school keeps the data for their students. They don't combine them with every student in the state, just like Walmart, just like Target, just like Home Depot. So when you get hacked, they hack all of the accounts. They didn't just hack Home Depot in Colorado Springs at Southgate. It was a nationwide problem. This will be the same thing because they will have access to every single record in the state, not just one school.
Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just to piggyback on what Representative Landgraf just said, we have all received hundreds of emails, hundreds of phone calls from constituents begging us to keep this information within each individual school and not in some big centralized database. I don't consider myself smarter or better than the constituents that are writing to me, begging me to keep this information within their schools, and I hope that nobody here does feel that way, that we should be telling them that the school's file cabinets are insufficient to be keeping this information. Oh, and one more, just to back up, and we heard about the mumps outbreak that we had several weeks ago in the state. We did hear testimony in committee that there were 4 cases of mumps identified, and they were all in fully immunized people. So I know that this bill is not about whether or not we're telling people. I mean, the exemptions already are in place, but I just wanted to clear that up because we did hear that testimony in committee.
Representative Joshi, to the bill, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, we are talking about the security of the data again, but just removing something from a cabinet and putting it in the computer does not make it safe anymore. Unless you have something, I mean, why do we have LifeLocks selling their ads all the time? Maybe it is about time that the state buys a LifeLock for themselves. So if the data is breached, then they will actually pay for all the cost of all that. So I don't think this is going to make it any safer.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Joshi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We earlier discussed about amendment, but part of the amendment was declared that it was settled question. So I move amendment L030 and ask that it be displayed.
Amendment L030 has been moved and is properly displayed. Representative Joshi to the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, what this amendment did basically is some of the issues.
I'm sorry, Representative Joshi, one moment, please.
Oh,
okay, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, what we did was some of the issues related to the settled question, we removed it from the previous amendment. What this amendment is basically doing is currently in the bill. It says that any student 18 years or older wants to attend the college, they will have to show all this proof of immunization, etc. What bill this amendment does, it removes that burden from those students. Number 2, it also removes the burden from the universities and the colleges where they had to have a tuberculosis screening program and things like that. We are trying to make life of our citizens easier, not difficult. That's what our job is here. We cannot increase the burden and put it on the students who are just trying to improve their life and they want to go get some higher education, get some better jobs. But this bill is actually making it difficult. So I ask for yes vote and make our citizens' life and our students' life easier.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L030? Seeing none, the question before us. A division has been called.
Some of you guys have got to go take it.
The question is the adoption of L030.
This is free range water right here. What's missing? There she is. There's one.
The question is the adoption of L030. A division has been requested. All those in the chamber not entitled to vote, please be seated. All of those in favor of Amendment L030, please stand and remain standing until counted. I'm only a tiebreaker. You may be seated. All those voting no on L030, please stand and remain standing until the count has been taken. You may be seated. Amendment L030 is lost. To the bill, Representative Landgraf.
Thanks, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Amendment L031 and ask that it be displayed. This is for you, Representative Pabon. Can we? Thank you.
Amendment L031 has been moved and is properly displayed. Representative Landgraf to the amendment.
Amendment sponsored by LifeLock.
Wait, aren't they part of an offshore tax haven?
Representative Landgraf.
Admittedly, this might drive a fiscal note, but what, $7.95 a month? Cheap at twice the price.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L031? Representative Coram.
Thank you very much. I think this might be a great bill because LifeLock has a $1 million guarantee if you're hacked, so we could bring some money into the state.
Representative Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And speaking to this amendment, members, we just had a long conversation yesterday about special giveaways to corporations. So I would ask for a no vote on this amendment.
Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is actually a stimulus program. All we have to do is put all the data in a database, have somebody hack it, and every time they do, we can be $1 million richer. Just make sure it comes back to the state.
Representative Everett to the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this is to the amendment. And since this may produce revenue, and I'm all for small business and business development. However, Representative Quorum, does this run up against the Tabor exemption, or how does this deal with Tabor?
Representative Quorum.
No, thank you. We're going to make it an enterprise.
Representative Landgraf to the amendment, please. Amendment L028 has been moved and is properly displayed to the amendment. Representative Everett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So what this deals with is for parents that don't want to go in the database from getting the exemption or are not allowed to be exempt under CRS 254908. This allows them, since we are supposed to have a thorough and uniform education is guaranteed by Article 9, Section 2, that they can actually have that money and take it with them so they can actually get a quality education. So I'm looking to make sure that we're going to protect kids and make sure they get a quality education. I urge a yes vote on this bill.
Representative Pabon.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Representative Everett. It's a creative amendment, but I don't believe it fits under the title. I ask for a title ruling by the chair.
The committee will stand in a brief recess. Committee will come back to order. The chair rules that the amendment does not fit under the title. Seeing no further discussion on House Bill 1164, Representative Humphrey.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and appreciate the spirited debate we're having. Unfortunately, an earlier amendment by Representative Neville was defeated on the opt-out, opt-in issue, and so I move Amendment 029 and ask that it be properly, clearly, vividly displayed. Thank you.
Amendment L029 has been moved and is properly displayed to the amendment. Representative Humphrey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So as you can see, this one says that the department and the school shall include on their websites the notice informing parents or guardians of the option to exclude immunization information from the immunization tracking system and shall provide the ability for a parent or guardian to opt out electronically on their websites. And I think with respect to our parents and parents' rights that this is an important amendment, and I remember asking in committee about how this was going to be done, and I think this provides a much easier system for parents to deal with. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L029? Representative Pabon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And the short answer is the department is and will continue to do this. But now you're putting a clearly unfunded mandate on our schools that are already burdened by the number of rules and regulations that we put on them, and now you're going to make them put this on their website? I just don't think this is a good use of our taxpayer dollars and an undue burden on our local school districts, and would ask for a no vote.
Representative Everett, to the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise in strong support to this amendment. Again, this goes back to what I think this bill is all about, and it's about parents' rights. And also, we also heard Representative Janal talk about, parents being informed, and I think this is a great way parents can actually be informed and make it very user-friendly to make sure that they can opt out. And so it's a very user-friendly amendment. It's a very pro-parent amendment. I rise in strong support.
Seeing no further discussion on the Amendment L029, the question before us is the passage of Amendment L029. All those in favor? A division has been called. The question is the adoption of Amendment L029. A division has been called. All those in the chamber not entitled to vote, please be seated and remain seated. All of those in favor of Amendment L029, please stand and remain standing in one place until the count is taken. You may be seated. All those opposed to Amendment L029, please stand and remain standing until the count has been taken. You all may be seated. Amendment L029 fails. To the bill. Seeing no further discussion on House Bill 1164, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1164. All those in favor? There has been a division. The question is the adoption of House Bill 1164, and a division has been requested once again. All those in the chamber not entitled to vote, please remain seated. All those in favor of House Bill 1164, please stand and remain standing in one place until the vote is counted. You may be seated. All those opposed to House Bill 1164, please stand and remain standing until the vote has been taken. You all may be seated. House Bill 1164 passes. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to proceed out of order for the immediate consideration of Senate Bill 88 by Representative Willett.
Is there any objection? Seeing none?
Senate Bill 88.
We will proceed with Senate Bill 88. Mr. Kohler, please read the title of Senate Bill 88.
Senate Bill 88 by Senator Stedman, also Representative Willett, concerning the revised Uniform Fiduciary Access to Digital Assets Act.
Representative Willett to the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 16088. There was no committee report.
To the bill, Representative Willett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I hope we won't take more than an hour on this. I only have 3 amendments. No, just joking. This is a uniform bills law, like you're aware of the Commission on Uniform State Laws, things like Uniform Commercial Code, Uniform Probate Code. Good news for you. This bill came up last year, and there was opposition from Google and Facebook and the bankers and the ACLU. This is a very nice program that works very hard, and they worked all summer to come up with amendments to satisfy all opposition. And as a result, it came out of the Senate unanimously, came to Judiciary, where it also came out unanimously. And basically, this is a bill to provide fiduciary access in the internet age. It's for things like Facebook accounts, emails, even Bitcoin that some people are into. And it just allows the system to work smoothly. I won't take up any of more of your time. Again, I would hope we keep in the spirit of uniformity on good laws with mutual compromise and pass this unanimously. I urge an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 88? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 88. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Senate Bill 88 passes. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that we lay over the balance of the special orders calendar until Monday, March 14th.
Are there any objections? Seeing none, the rest of the calendar will be laid over as requested by the Majority Leader. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the committee rise and report.
You have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, the committee will rise and report.
The House will come back to order. Mr. Kohler, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, Committee of the Whole begs leave reports under consideration of following attached bills being second reading. The government makes following recommendations thereon. House Bills 1164 amended, passed on second reading in order and gross placed on calendar for third and final passage. Senate Bill 88 passed on second reading in order and revised, placed on calendar for third and final passage. House Bills 1306, 1285, 1257, 1210, and Senate Bill 94 laid over until March 14th, retaining their place on the calendar.
Representative Escar.
I move the House adopt the report of the Committee of the Whole.
You heard the motion. There are amendments on the desk. Mr. Kohler, please read the Representative P. Neville amendment to House Bill 1164 of the Committee of the Whole report.
Representative Neville moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole to reverse
And
the
would you, Mr. Kohler, please give me a moment. We are in to the Committee of the Whole report. May I have your attention? Please proceed, Mr. Kohler.
Representative Neville moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole to reverse the action taken by the committee in not adopting the following Neville Amendment L027 to House Bill 1164 to show that said amendment passed and that House Bill 1164 as amended passed.
Representative P. Neville.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, we briefly discussed this amendment earlier.
Representative P. Neville, would you please move the amendment?
Yes, Madam Speaker. I move the Neville amendment to the Committee of the Whole.
And that amendment is properly displayed. Please proceed, Representative Neville.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, this just simply changes one word from exclude to include, so it provides members and parents to have informed consent to participate in the program instead of having to find out later on that they are participating in the program and have the option to opt out. This makes it an opt-in. I urge a yes vote.
Is there further discussion on the Representative Representative Pabon, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, we did have actually a good discussion on this amendment, and essentially the purpose of our public health system is to inform our most vulnerable populations, our medically unable children, elderly, from getting vaccinations, give them information about what the exemption rates are or aren't in their particular communities, and that's a critically important part of this bill. An amendment such as L027 or the P. Neville amendment would undermine that, and so I ask for a no vote.
Is there further discussion on the P. Neville amendment to the Committee of the Whole report? Representative Singh.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, a vote on this amendment shows who trusts parents and who does not. I urge a yes vote.
Is there further discussion on the P. Neville amendment to the Committee of the Whole report? Seeing none, the question before us is the P. Neville amendment to House Bill 1164 as a part of the Committee of the Whole report. Mr. Kohler, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Oh, thank you. Close the machine. With 33 ayes, 32 noes, House Bill 1164 amendment, the P. Neville amendment, is passed. Mr. Kohler, please read the title of House Bill 1164, Representative Humphrey amendment to the Committee of the Whole.
Representative Humphrey moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole to reverse the action taken by the committee in not adopting the following Humphrey Amendment L029 to House Bill 1164 to show that said amendment passed and that House Bill 1164 as amended passed.
Representative Humphrey.
I need to include those votes in here.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And since we just passed previous amendments, I withdraw my amendment to the Committee of the Whole.
Okay, the Humphrey amendment has been withdrawn. We are now to the Committee of the Whole report. Mr. Kohler, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Close the machine. With 65 ayes, no noes, and no excuse, the Committee of the Whole report is passed. Announcements and introductions. Anybody have announcements and introductions? Representative Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, we do have students here today from my alma mater, Adams City High School, some of the best and brightest kids that you'll find in the state of Colorado. Please help me welcome them to the Capitol.
Representatives Escar and Vigil. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Vigil and I are proud to introduce from the center of the universe, from Pueblo, that is, students from East High School, and the high school itself is in Representative Vigil's district, but I'm sure some of the students actually go there from my district. So we just wanted to say thank you all for being on the House floor with us today. And now, if you would stand up, we'll thank you.
Yes,
Representative Vigil.
Yes, thank you for making the trip down here to see how the process works, and we appreciate you coming down and hopefully learn something. So thank you again for being here.
Representative Lawrence and Representative Fields.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, we just want to remind you today is the meeting of the Crime Victims' Rights Caucus. There is a lunch that will be provided. It's in room 112 from 12 to 1 p.m. today.
And the topic is on restitution, so please join us.
Representative Primavera.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to remind members that tonight the American Heart Association is having a legislative reception at the Governor's Mansion. It starts at 6 o'clock, so if you can join us, that would be great.
Representative Klingenschmidt.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, on your desk is another invitation. This coming Tuesday is going to be a giant prayer rally on the West Steps. The son of legendary evangelist Billy Graham, the Reverend Franklin Graham, will be leading that prayer rally. They've already been running television ads. They're actually expecting thousands of people. So I encourage you to bring this home to your pastor, minister, rabbi, whatever your faith, and make sure that your church is informed. Bring out the community of faith, and let's all pray together on Tuesday at noon on the West Steps. Thank you.
Further announcements or introductions? Seeing none, Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the House stand in recess until later today at 1:30 p.m.
The motion is to stand in recess until later today at 1:30 p.m. See no objection, we're in recess.